Now let's look at the second section around the corner. The black and white stones on the board are all the intersections of the territory lines and the outer partition lines. That is, the intersections of the third line and the fourth line, which are called 3-4 points. The 3-4 point has the characteristics of both the 3-3 point and the star point, and this move of the black stone and this move of the white stones are called corner enclosure. That is, defending the corner. Because corner enclosure can ensure both territory and outer partition at the same time. It is very important in the opening stage. This black stone expands its influence outward based on the corner and expands toward the side with the corner as the backing. The outer partition is very likely to form a large actual territory, so the circled black stone is a rather large big point. On the contrary, if it is white's turn to play, white will also expand at its position. When white's partition expands outward based on the corner, it is generally at the star point on the side, or a position one space lower than the star point. When facing blacks this extension move, white, while expanding outward based on the corner, also prevents black from developing its outer partition, so it is played at this position. But then black can play. This move on the lower side is also the key point for black to expand outward based on the corner. The result is that black is good. If in the opening stage, allowing the opponent to expand on both sides of the corner is mostly not good. Therefore, this white stone above will mostly be played on this side, for example, at this position to prevent black from making an extension on both sides. The circled black stone, although it is undoubtedly the key point for expanding outward based on the corner, is not as big as this white move. This white move is the key point for both black and white to expand outward based on the corner. When white circled makes an extension, black blocks, and white makes another extension. White forms a good shape with both wings spread out. Looking at the whole board, white's influence is more dynamic than black's. White's opening is successful. Now let's look at the differences between black triangle corner enclosure and white triangle corner enclosure through such variation diagrams. First, black triangle jumps corner enclosure. The disadvantage of black's triangle jump corner enclosure is that when white makes an extension, we find that the gate of black's corner is still open. Black must reinforce at position A or position B with one more move. But black is somewhat dissatisfied with such a move. However, black's triangle's corner enclosure has a stronger ability to develop toward the side and the center than the white triangle's corner enclosure. Compared with the jump corner enclosure at position A, white triangle's nice move corner enclosure is more advantageous in defending the corner. Even if black makes an extension, white doesn't need to reinforce with one more move. Because of this, white triangle's nice move corner enclosure is more commonly used in actual games than white's A jump corner enclosure. But since the development toward the side and the center is also very important, we can't say that the nice move reinforcement is better than the jump reinforcement. The black move is the move adopted according to the basic theory of Weiqi. After occupying the 3-4 points, it immediately expands toward the side. It doesn't take outer partition as backing, so most of the time it won't obtain definite territory. This move is the definite means for black to obtain the territory in the corner and waits for the opportunity to develop toward the side. On the contrary, the white stone in the upper left corner occupies the star point, which itself implies the intention of taking position. Therefore, immediately expanding toward the side is a good move. Of course, this move can also be played at position A or position B to expand. Let's look at this again. White makes an extension here, blocking the space for black to develop toward the side. Black is based on the corner enclosure. But if the development toward the side is completely blocked, most of the time it won't achieve good results. The black corner can only be forced to jump upward and get out in the center. Black directly getting out in the center from the corner is disadvantageous for black. Here, black plays at this position and white plays at this position. This move, which is played at a position where the opponent wants to make a corner enclosure, is the means to prevent the opponent from making a corner enclosure. We call it corner approach, since corner enclosure is a good thing that achieves two things at once by occupying both outer partition and territory. The position of the corner approach, which prevents the opponent from making a corner enclosure, becomes a very good point. Then, corner approach can be a high approach like this black move or a low approach like this white move. Low approach is a means often used in actual games nowadays. Now let's analyze the differences between the high approach and low approach. When white makes a low approach and black chooses to pincer, white escapes in the center. Its disadvantage is that it is relatively slow. It makes a large jump to escape. Black makes an extension on this side. White is still within black pursuit range. Then white counter pincers. Black also jumps upward. White continues to jump. Until here, white's shape is still not reassuring. Let's look at another variation. When white makes a low approach and black pincers, white chooses the small diagonal move. Well, until here, these are all the ways of playing in a joseki. We can see that the low approach is easier to obtain territory. This is an advantage. When white in this situation, it has already made life on the spot and will not longer be attacked in a battle that emphasizes the territory. Such a low approach is the correct method. Black circled high approach. Since the high approach is on the fourth line, it can be said that to be a method that emphasizes outer partition. However, the weakness of the high approach is that it allows the opponent to easily obtain territory. White's attachment is the key to easily obtain territory. Until here, these are all the ways of playing in a joseki. White obtains territory as a senti move. Still, this high approach, when the opponent attacks, for example, makes a higher pincer here. The advantage of the high approach is that it can be easily get out in the center. It can jump in the middle. Like these, no matter what, white can't catch up with the black in speed. Now we have understood the differences between high approach and the low approach to a center extent. This black move is a large knight move approach. Although the large knight move approach will allow the opponent to easily obtain the corner, it is a commonly used method when relieving the opponent's pincer. When it makes a large knight move approach, white can choose to make a small diagonal move to defend the corner. Black can make an extension at a position. It is a bit unpleasant to let the opponent easily obtain the corner like this. black can also quickly settle down. Black is still sufficient. Let's look at such a move again. This move is not a 3-4 point, but a shape of corner enclosure at the start point. Black circle knight move corner enclosure and white jump corner enclosure or black circle large knight move corner enclosure are all often used in actual games. However, the corner enclosure at the start point is different from at the 3-4 point. It has disadvantage of incomplete occupation of the corner. The start point emphasizes outer partition more than occupying the corner. After occupying the start point, it will generally make an extension on the side. Let's look at these. Although the start point has been a corner enclosed, the 3-3 point is still a fatal weakness. Black invades at 3-3 point. We play until here. We have played it into this shape. Black has made a small corner alive, but white has obtained outer partition as a senti move. Of course, since white outer partition is very large, white is not absolutely at a disadvantage, but it is a bit unpleasant for white to let black easily obtain the corner. Here, black has made a small knight move corner enclosure, but white can still invade at the 3-3 point. The situation will change a bit. Let's look at them. Although white can make a move in the corner, it is not unconditional life. Until it is played into this shape, we find that white lives by code. But anyway, after black makes a corner enclosure, white can always have some means in the corner. This is black's uneasiness. Therefore, the corner enclosure at the 3-4 point should be considered first than that at the start point. Here, black makes a large knight move corner enclosure, and white can still invade at the 3-3 point. Then it is played into this shape. White makes life as a senti move. Therefore, black can also obtain a stronger outer partition. Therefore, when white invades at 3-3 point, it should also be cautious. If when the opponent makes a large knight move corner enclosure, quickly invade at the 3-3 point and let the opponent from a strong outer partition. It will lead to unfavorable consequences for oneself. Black chooses to make an extension on the side. It is a move that develops toward the side with the start point as backing. Expanding toward the side after occupying the start point is a method that is more faithful to the layout principle of Weiqi than corner enclosure. After black expands, it will welcome white to invade at the 3-3 point. In this way, let's compare again. Although white makes life as a senti move, black forms a strong outer partition. The situation is favorable for black. White's approach here is the correct idea to prevent black from developing on the lower side. Black jumps and white makes a nice move in. It is played into this shape. This is a most basic joseki. Black expands from the start point to the left side, and there is no dissatisfaction in the shape. For white, when approaching the start point, it is very important to approach from the side where there is no stone. This white move directly makes an extension with the 3-4 point as the background, but because there is no corner enclosing stone in the corner, it is approached by black. Let's look at its way of playing. Well, it is played into the shape. In the way of playing in this diagram, white's shape becomes a collapsed shape. The stone that white extends to the side is instead isolated. The conclusion is that the 3-4 point should be consolidated first before it can expand toward the side or the center with the influence as the backing. White makes a corner enclosure here. It is correct. White can not only expand the territory in the corner like these, but also expand the partition toward the side or the center.